Yeah, I like that.
I think if you don't know, you should know. And then they were talking about him, and they brought this guest on who was talking about how, all his views are misogynistic and he's been banned and it's a step in the right direction, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly, somewhere deep inside my heart, I found some sympathy for the guy. Like, that was the opportunity for him to apologize to Chris Rock, say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. I apologize to your mum. And to Jada, I'm leaving you because you're not good for me. Because look at the stuff
you mean in the moment there?
Yeah, in that moment. That would have been
That would be sick.
That would have been epic.
But another point, bro, about this misogyny label that's put on Tate. I think, bro, like half of the stuff he might say about women, yeah, we throw it in the bin. But half of it we would agree with. And the problem is we're taking on the definitions and all and the lexicon of people following the liberal philosophy, Yani. And we might start calling him a misogynist, but then he might be saying stuff that's like in line with Islam. So, bro, did you bring up the Andrew Tate thing, or was it me? You did, right?
How dare you say that name?
AT.
It shall not be named.
AT.
AT.
You brought it up, right? And I actually
thought, unfortunately.
You know what? Like in the past, maybe 1-2 episodes, we mentioned him. Not that in brief, in passing. But and I even made like a couple videos where I kind of trashed him. But I do want to say something, just to be fair, not fair to him, but just fair in general. That a lot of the time, and I guess this is exaggerated by the culture of content creators. People like pick on one side of someone and just like take that to extreme and focus on that side. But some of the, and this is what some people in the comments of those videos said, and so it's fair to agree with what they were saying. They were saying like, oh, you don't know the real Andrew Tate. You're just taking his clips where he's trying to be funny, and he's got some beneficial stuff in his like longer form stuff, right? His podcasts and this and that. And there are some good general lessons, not lessons, but just stuff he says, which obviously he didn't like. I don't think he, through his experience and research in life, he came across it. It's just like stuff you might come across. Like there's one guy, I forgot his name now, but he's got this company called Nomad Capitalist, where he basically helps, wealthy people generally, business owners, to do what he calls, what does he call it? Go where you're treated best. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like tax planning, move to a country where you're going to pay lower taxes, get a backup bank accounts, backup citizenships, all of this stuff, what would be associated with the whole Caribbean islands, what do they call it?
Tax haven.
Tax haven, exactly, yeah. So he helps with all that stuff, but the thing that caught my eye about his work is the whole element of have a backup plan, not just for like, I don't know, your business, or have some savings, but have another nationality, have a bank account with other currencies, have some gold, have some,
I got some of that.
Yeah. So that's what I liked. And a lot of that I heard like 3-4 years later, just this year, from Andrew Tate, so he kind of talks about stuff. He talks about how, like he's like, look, if you're rich, you can bypass a lot of the problems in the world, right? Like he's like, when there's Corona lockdown, there's no flights, you can get a private jet. When you're not allowed to leave your country because you're a citizen in that country, you could just flip out another different passport and be like, well, no, I'm going home to that country, right? So I actually agree with all these elements. It's just that for me, it was nothing new because I'd heard that from other things before. Even, it's not here right now, but even the 4-hour work week talks about this, which is 15 years old or something, 10 or 15 years old. So I was hearing about that from a long time ago, but I guess the newer crowd, they're new to these things, and so they're excited by it. So I thought I would just say that just to be kind of fair. And
I mean, you know what? I was driving home from work yesterday, and I decided, hey, you know what I haven't done in a long time?
Put the radio to an Andrew Tate podcast.
No, absolutely not. I'll put the radio on. I put the radio on, and it was LBC, leading Britain's conversation.
I know. I've only heard of that because I think it was Imran Dowerman. He went on there once and he got trashed. Like he went on. It was some sort of. It might have been to talk about something kind of controversial, and he wasn't, the whole media training, and maybe just wasn't really prepared for what they were going to do to him, because they, everyone corners you when it's on their turf, innit? So this is just a vague memory. I'm not 100% sure.
No, I did call up once, and then they picked up the phone, and as soon as they picked up the phone, I got cold feet and hung up.
Okay. That's what I did. But are they that type that they would corner? Because I don't want to say what I just said and it's wrong. Like, is that realistic?
It depends if he was like a guest that they brought on, or if he was just a caller. I wouldn't know.
Guest.
I don't know. I honestly don't listen to it enough to know. I'm not like a... Yeah. Every day I've put it on this past week, it has been just the energy fuel crisis. No matter what time of day, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah. But got to keep your heart beating faster than it should.
But on the previous topic, he came up. I was driving home yesterday, and he came up. They were talking about him, and the presenter was like, "I don't know if anybody knows about this Andrew Tate guy, but I think if you don't know, you should know." And then they were talking about him, and they brought this guest on who was talking about how, all his views are misogynistic, and he's been banned, and it's a step in the right direction, blah 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 blah. And then suddenly, somewhere deep inside my heart, I found some sympathy for the guy. And I'll tell you why. It's not because of what he says. I don't agree with most of what he says. And that's fine. And I think, like you said, maybe when I first spoke about him on the podcast, I did maybe fly into this gut reaction of I hate this guy and whatever, and anyone listens to him, whatever. I've had a bit more time to think about it, and I just thought they're making him out like he's some sort of demon, like he's a danger to society, and his views aren't anything I haven't heard before, and his views are out there. And if you are so scared of his views, then why not come up with something a bit more better, like something more, like challenge him on an academic and a critical level instead of just banning him. Because all this does, number one, it makes him look like he's won. Number two, where's the freedom of speech? Because at the end of the day, he's only speaking. They're saying he's inciting people to violence and stuff like that. And I suppose there's some, I haven't seen them, but there's some allegations about him and, physically assaulting women and maybe condoning that kind of behavior as well. Obviously, we don't condone that. But at the end of the day, where does your bar for free speech get set? That's what's annoying me. It's like I almost called up because of that this time around. Okay. I was going to call up. Everyone was talking about him and talking about the fact that he's been banned and how great it was that he's been banned. Like every caller that I heard, I didn't listen to all of them. I only listened for about 20 minutes. But they were all like pro in the fact that they were happy that he was banned and it's a step in the right direction. But I was going to call up just to ask the freedom of speech question. Like the disclaimer. The disclaimer was like, I don't agree with him. I don't like him. Yeah. I could actually maybe argue against him if someone wanted to bring their opinion. Not him. I wouldn't argue with him. If someone had his views because of him, I'm holding your book around, by the way. This isn't.
Yay!
if somebody wanted to argue based on his views, and we'd argue back, we'd have a debate. We did it ourselves on this podcast, and you've done it with that video, especially towards Muslims. But the bar is just like, you guys are just hypocrites, man. You just set the standards whenever you want. Talk about free speech like it's like look at that the Salman Rushdie guy. Yeah, he got stabbed. I didn't like the fact that he got stabbed, but he got stabbed. And as Mufti said, people get stabbed in London all the time. Like, what's my opinion meant to be? People get stabbed all the time. He's allowed to have a platform and speak and hate. And I don't want to be that guy like, oh, poor us Muslims, we're always double standarded. But it's, there's something to be said there. Like, the guy got a bit of traction. He got a bit of following. Well, he must be hitting some bells with people, but they're making it out like he's brainwashing them. The stuff he's saying isn't like hypnotic stuff. It's not stuff that's like brainwashing people. It's just addressing a symptom of society in a particular way based on some weird, understanding or extreme understanding in some cases of traditional values, right? Traditional gender roles. I don't agree with the way he's gone with it. I don't agree with the extremities. I don't agree with his treatment of women. However, I do agree with a lot of his assertions of evils in society or problems with society, and we all do in that regard, don't we? And you can read more about that in the Shepherd's Way. The Shepherd's Way. I was looking for Way, but it was too dark, and I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, he made a video like when he got banned. Because, by the way, for those listening, he got banned on Twitter, Instagram, and then 2 days later he got banned on YouTube, right? Oh. And And then he put out this video. I think just before he got banned on YouTube, he put out a video like on Vimeo because he couldn't put it on YouTube, I guess. He put it out and it was like probably the most polished video of his I've ever seen, right? Because his videos usually aren't very polished. And it was very polished and it seemed almost scripted. And it was an hour long.
Wow.
And I was playing it on double speed while I was doing some work. So I actually ended up hearing it all. And it's kind of funny because, you know, like in all of his videos and clips, yeah, he's like, to be a man, it's like, you know, it's difficult and it's a challenge and, you know, but you got to be strong and this and that. But in this video, it was almost like, oh, I'm the good guy here. I'm the victim here. And it was like, what's the word? He was appealing to people's sympathy and he's like, look, I've only ever done good stuff. I only ever cared about women and said good things about women and this and that. So I thought that was a bit actually weak of him to be, he was, and he said, by the way, he said, I have no problem with YouTube, with Instagram, obviously because he wants to keep that chance of getting reinstated, right? So he's like, yeah, I've got no problem with them. You know, they're just doing their job. You know, I think it's unfair what happened to me, but I understand, you know, it's their platform. They got to do what they need to do and this and that. So he wasn't his usual self, you know, because of the, you know, context of the situation, I suppose. And the fact that he probably very much would like to not have been banned. On top of that, he said, oh, by the way, so this was always part of my plan. I was going to go out there, you know, get super big. And then I was going to phase 2, I was going to take a back seat for a while or something like that. He did, to be fair to him, he did put a clip, an old clip where he was saying something like this. But the way he was phrasing it was a bit almost like, yeah, I won anyway because I was planning on doing this anyway, yeah, with or without being banned. And the other thing was like, he's like, you know, I became so famous without even realizing what to expect. And I just thought anyone negative, saying anything negative online, like that just comes with the game and you don't reply to them. You just like ignore them. You just keep going kind of thing. And he was like trying to play that innocent card. So that kind of, you know, obviously some parts of his conduct merit some level of respect, but that respect I might have had for him for that area kind of went a bit when he started acting like this when he got banned. So I think that shows something, you know, in terms of his character. The fact that maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, right? Maybe I'm just a hater, but but the way, you know, if you watch that video, I thought it said a lot about because he was trying to justify himself, and I just thought that's kind of weak. If you know you're on the hap and ultimately like people are out to get you, then you just kind of, I don't know, I feel like you just kind of shut up and take it. But instead he was kind of like made an hour-long video trying to justify and show how he's a great guy and he's doing good for society. I don't know, my attitude in that case would be more like, yeah, whatever, I'm doing my thing. They shut me down because I'm on the hap and all that. I don't know. And I don't need to justify myself to the this and that.
It's interesting, isn't it? I find it so fascinating seeing how famous men crash and burn and the way they react to the destruction of their career in a particular sense, or not. Destruction might be extreme, but like a big disturbance or a big failure or a big fall. Like as you were talking about that, I was thinking of number one. I was thinking of Will Smith when he slapped Chris Rock, and then what he proceeded to do afterwards. Now he's just come back to social media.
I want to get onto him, by the way. Yeah.
Well, I watched his apology video when he came back to Instagram, and I watched it, and I was like, "Yeah, that was pretty solid." Like, it wasn't like an apology like those like, "Oh, I'm not really apologizing, but I'm not really apologizing," kind of thing. Like, it was a full. For me, it just felt like, yeah, he said all the things an apology should be. You know, he apologized, acknowledged he was wrong, with no like. I couldn't remember anyway, but I didn't think there was any like excuses for his behavior or anything like that. So that was pretty solid, but also seeing that downfall was fascinating. And then the other day I saw, I didn't watch this match, but it was a boxing match between Anthony Joshua and, what was his name? Usyk or something like that. He's a Ukrainian boxer. Now I obviously don't watch boxing, but obviously I see the highlights and stuff on Twitter, and Anthony Joshua lost, and he's meant to be like, I don't know, the popular vote, I suppose. He's definitely the more famous one, I think.
Well, from a politically correct perspective, you know, it's a dilemma, isn't it, bro? Because you got the whole, you know, got to support black people thing, and then you've got the whole got to support Ukrainian thing. So, you know, if you pick a side, bro, it's
I
a
don't know about
tricky
that.
one, bro.
I don't know about that. But at the end of the day, he lost, and he reacted in a very bad way. Like, he started throwing a bit of a tantrum in the boxing ring. He picked up the belts and he chucked them on the floor. And he started. I saw like an extended back, but like almost like behind the scenes footage of him like stomping around and trying to start a fight with someone and all this stuff. And people were just appalled online about his behavior, because he's meant to be like, he presents himself as like the humble one and humility and all of this stuff. And then suddenly all of that performance had melted away at his loss. And I just thought, this is another example of how far people can fall in the eyes of the public, you know.
Yeah, and it's like one incident which can define your reputation, right? Because
100%.
you know, you've only got so many fights and so many big public
like
appearances.
even Trump, like what happened to Trump, same thing, you know. Similar to the Andrew Tate thing, they took him off of Twitter, didn't they? And I don't know if he had Instagram, but I remember him taken off Twitter. But he went down the route of what I thought Andrew Tate was going to do, which is make his own platform, or like double down on the fact that he can make money now. And you can make more money. You could probably make more money outside of that, because you've already amassed a following. You say, right, subscribe to this thing, and you can push out my content for me. You know, you can be part of the super special club, and I send you videos and you push it out there.
Yeah,
you know,
that would be sick. Yeah,
people already do that. People already share his videos and love what he says and stuff.
Yes,
So
yeah,
he could just do it that way, and then somehow have some sort of membership thing for it or whatever. I don't know.
you're talking about Tate, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought you would go down that route.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, although they've banned him, they haven't banned his existence on their platform. They've just banned his channels or his channel. And the most, I'm sure 90% of his views were from other people's channels anyway. So that would be sick, actually, if he did this underground membership thing where he just puts out links to videos, and then people
100%.
spread the word. That would
100%.
That would be like wildfire. Yeah.
That's what he would do, because suddenly he's proven, because there's that video of him going viral at the moment. How am I seeing it? Probably through third parties, but I'm seeing it, and it's like he's talking about the system, and he's talking about they want you to be you're a slave, and in the past you used to work your ass off for, you know, food and a house. And then they realized that they couldn't do that to you anymore. So now they they try and control you with safety. Oh, and don't do this because it's dangerous, and don't do that because it's dangerous, and safety. Talk about COVID and maybe the anti-terror laws and all this stuff. And that became another means of control, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to, you know, you listen to that and you're like, oh, whoa, yeah, this is why they banned him. Well, maybe, but there's also a lot of other stuff. And hey, guess what? There's a lot of women, surprise, surprise, to a lot of men out there don't realize, there's a lot of women in positions of power and control these days. Whoa. They don't like something, they're also going to push for it. It's like a lot of men seem to think that, you know, it's just men in charge of things. Do you know what I mean? Like the CEO of Disney or something. I can't remember. Is she CEO? Some high up person in Disney. She's a woman. And she was talking about her kids, and she had her agendas, and her kids are particular sexualities and all this stuff. And she was like, yeah, I want to see more of this in Disney shows. And suddenly there's more of it in Disney shows. You know, and I'm just using that as an example. So yeah, if there's going to be women in Facebook or women in Twitter or women or whatever, yeah, the CEOs might not be. But heck, if you've got high-level employees or high-level decision makers who are women and offended by something, they're going to also kick up a fuss. So
yeah, even if it's for purely personal reasons, you know, they can interpret their policies of terms of use in the way they feel, you know, definitely. And if you just think about it, like from a PR point of view, this would be the popular thing to do, right? To ban him, even though, like what you said, it's contradictory to what people claim to believe in, like the whole freedom of speech.
Just
but
winning, yeah.
In the end, you know, the mob comes out with the pitchforks and they don't want no freedom for their enemy, you know. But when it comes to their time, they're like, no, freedom.
Yeah, no such thing, man. It's just the winning vote. They just want to win the masses over.
Yeah. The CEO of YouTube is a woman.
Oh, right. No, there you go then. On that, it's a side point, but Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan podcast. You see that?
Yeah, recently. I thought that was a few weeks ago, maybe.
I don't know. I just saw a clip of it yesterday, and I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah,
and it was just about like he was talking about
not the most charismatic guy.
No. Definitely, he was born in the metaverse. I think. He's all ones and zeros, baby. No, when he was talking about the clip I saw, he was talking about like how they make decisions on what to censor and how to censor it, and
Ah,
like they were talking about like the censorship of like some election stuff, during the Trump stuff and whatever. I don't know. And he was talking about how the FBI approached them and were like, "Hey." I mean, the way he put it, he was like, "Oh, they came, they told us we should be wary of something, so we were wary of it, and we limited the reach of this and that." And then Joe Rogan was like, "What? You limit reach of certain political posts?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, in a way." And he kind of like wanted to backtrack, but
too
but then
late.
yeah. I mean, he probably thought it was a good thing to say, but then suddenly you realize, oh, I'm in control of public opinion here. So yeah, and he always goes back to this whole thing of like, oh, I'm in the business of connecting people. Like that's what I want to do. That's what I want to focus on. But yeah, dude, these there's a lot more obviously power there than you
I
think.
do. I actually would say that there is an element of those things that Tate was saying. I think there's an element of that clip you said that was being shared around. There's an element of that message that certain people don't like as well, and they don't want it going around. I do actually
Yeah,
think that. And
anti-establishment stuff. Yeah,
yes, and even something I heard him saying, like, if you want people to be just, what's the word? Not complacent, compliant, I suppose. Compliant and just kind of do nothing, don't resist anything. Just go with the status quo. If you want that, then just get the young men to just be losers and like, get them to watch porn and play video games and you're kind of sorted, right? Because those are the people that are ultimately going to spark things off, right? Even
yeah.
sometimes they, yani from the Sharia point of view, they might do something wrong, yeah? But that wrong action leads to some eventual long-term benefit, right? Like some spark of something, yeah?
Yeah.
So he was saying that. I think I heard Tupac saying that before as well. It's like, he's like us black people in America, by age 30, like if we lose our spark by in that 20 to 30 age range, it's like we're no longer a threat. So that's why in that age group, they want us like in crime, in prison, or in the ground, and so that he's like, that's what they do. And again, I agree with that message. I think that definitely an element of truth to it. It's just the way he delivers it. It's kind of like Gary Vee as well. Gary Vee, a lot of people can't stand him, but it's just really more the way they're delivering it rather than the substance of what they're saying. They just don't like the personality. They don't like the thing. Obviously, with Tate, half of it is the style maybe I might not like, and half of it is absolutely the substance I disagree with. But another point, bro, about this misogyny label that's put on Tate, I think, bro, like half of the stuff he might say about women, yeah, we throw it in the bin. But half of it we would agree with. And the problem is we're taking on the definitions and the lexicon of these, how do you say it? People following the liberal philosophy, yani.
Yeah.
And we might start calling him a misogynist, but then he might be saying stuff that's like in line with Islam, and then it's like, oh, you just caught yourself out kind of thing. So I think we have to be careful with fully going with the flow in that sense.
Yeah, I mean the spectrum. So in the radio show I was listening to, whoever it was, some sort of academic or some sort of teaching, whatever, he came in and goes, because he was asked, the presenter asked him, what kind of stuff does he talk about? What's the spectrum here? And he goes, well, the least of it is going to be like traditional gender roles, and the worst of it is going to be physical violence upon women. And I was like, whoa, hold the phone. So you're including traditional gender roles in his extremities, like you're including
Exactly, like
roles
that's misogyny according to them, right? Believing in gender roles, yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? I want to say something else. Today, I listened to it on my way home. So that was yesterday. Today, I listened to it on my way home. Same presenter again. She's a woman. She's talking about Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson on holiday during this energy crisis, blah, blah, blah. And she asks another caller, just a random member of the public, this isn't, she goes, because he's avoiding this whole discussion by going on holiday and all this stuff.
I thought he's not even in government anymore.
Well, he's leaving, but at the moment,
Oh,
he's
he
still
didn't
in
leave
charge.
yet. He's still
No.
prime minister.
Well, they're still deciding who's going to take over.
Oh, so he's
But-
still prime minister. Okay, I didn't know.
But he's on
Okay.
holiday. He's been holidaying.
Great.
But she said something along the lines of, "That's not very manly of him, is it? That's not very manly." And then the dude,
Gender roles.
the dude that she was speaking to, he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I'll say manly. I don't know anything about that, but I'll say cowardly. It's not very cowardly." And then she had to backtrack really quickly on what she said, and I was like, "Look at this double standard. She can just say what she wants on air, saying manly as if it's only men that have to be brave. How dare you say such a thing? How dare you?" But you catch them out slipping all the time, dude. Some guy at work. Yesterday I heard that some dude at work is in trouble for calling. He was asked his opinion on a particular female colleague, and he goes, "She's a lovely lady," sincerely, like no sarcasm, whatever. Now he's under investigation for that. I was like, are you serious? Like, what's happening? They were trying to explain it to me, and they were like, "Yeah, we're just as clueless as you are." I was like, "What is that? What we're getting to? You can't say lovely lady," because I say lady all the time. I say lady all the time.
If I was to guess, it would be like putting
Person.
lovely and lady together. It's like trying to insinuate that, some meaning, that might come from putting lovely and lady together. It's like she's,
Dude, this whole country is made of eggshells.
obviously it's a load of rubbish, isn't it?
You see, I liked it better, bro. And maybe I'm wrong, but I liked it better when we had overt, like Trump. He was a big overt kind of guy. If he didn't like Muslims, he'd say it.
Yeah.
Right? And he wouldn't try and
Islam
convince me
hates
to-
us.
Yeah.
like not
I knew
even
my-
Muslims, Islam.
I knew my place. I knew my place with the right wing guys, And actually, I felt like any right wing guy, sometimes my dawah would be more effective because there was something that they also felt so passionate about that I could actually relate to them with, and I'd be like, "Hey, well, we got this too."
Yeah.
But with the left wing, man, it's like this. It's like they scoop you up with this false sense of belonging, right? And this false sense of, "Yeah, come, we look after you, and yeah, freedom and liberty, and have all of this stuff, and have
I
whatever you
believe
want."
it's the worst in the UK, I think that's the PC culture. It's worse than in America. At least, okay, America's like, I think, a diverse country, but in general, general UK versus general America, I think UK is worse. And within Europe, UK is the worst, I think.
I don't feel like they've got right-wing academia. I'm not rooting for the right wing. Obviously, they're two wings of the same bird. But just observing it from a Muslim perspective, I feel like other countries have left-wing academics, right-wing academics. Even to the extent of like, I don't like Matt Walsh now that I know more about him. But using that Matt Walsh example, his documentary was at a professional level, speaking to academics, asking hard-hitting questions, and actually in quite a clever and smart way, right? We don't have that in the UK. Everything just goes. Like the liberal agenda is what it is, and that's where all the academia is, and that's where all the universities are. But I don't know of any challenge to that on a academic level.
Basically, what you're saying is, if I understand the political terminology correctly, socially, the UK is like fully liberal, and economically, they're fully right wing.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
Basically, that's
But
it.
there's no like public discourse of
There's no opposition to either of
alternative.
those two things.
what in America.
Because in America, they have the Christian element,
they have the Christian element. They've also got states that are largely, right wing, but
Yeah.
also those states are also going to have universities. They're going to have places of education. In the UK, I feel like every university is heavily left wing. Like I don't know, like the university culture is left leaning. I don't know of.
Yeah.
I can't even think of like in America. I could fathom a very right wing university, like university made of children from right wing children, teenagers or whatever from right wing families in those right wing populated states. Like think of all the Trump supporters, right? The Republican states. Think of the universities there. They're going to
I'm not
pump
sure
out those
about
kind of
that,
academics.
Not sure.
That's my assumption of what I see based on.
Yeah.
But
My
England is
feeling
so
is that in
small.
America, most young people are just pretty much socially, they're just like liberal. When it comes to economics, they might have differing opinions, but when it comes to social stuff, then they're pretty much all the same.
I think that's changed a lot. I think that's changed a lot, especially among men. And yeah, because you're seeing the popularity of people like Andrew Tate
Okay,
and
fair
right-wing
enough.
people like Trump. The fact that Trump even got elected
But he got elected by older people.
not just though. You can't. It's impossible. He would have had to have loads of people that were younger as well.
Really though? Because young people generally don't vote much anyway.
No, I think you'd be surprised. Look, remember on TV, you used to. I mean, I know we're judging it by TV and news commercials and stuff, but you know how many young people were in the "Make America Great Again" stuff? Young people all over voted for him and loved him and "Make America Great Again," and you could see a clear divide. I mean, look at the insurrection that happened in the White House or wherever, or Capitol Hill. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Capitol.
those people are like, the young people amongst them will be like 28. Right, but in unis, I'm talking about like 18, 19-year-olds. That's why.
I just feel like there is, like, for example, okay, in America, once again, a lot of the stuff we see that we might not agree with, or that is obviously, controversial. There are always pro and against protests happening. Always, whether it's a pride event or whether it's a drag show or whether it's whatever.
Yes.
There's always this vocal opposition. When there was Pride in London recently, there was 4 or 5, I think, elderly protesters from some Bible group, very, very elderly. And that's all I saw in all of the UK. And I started looking.
Absolutely, yeah.
I started searching.
What about, bro? Tell me something, yeah, from what you know. Because like we're saying, I think from what I know, I would agree with you. Like, the UK is fully liberal when it comes to social matters, yes?
Yes.
There isn't resistance. What if I was to go up north, kind of middle of nowhere village, yeah? What would their views be on some of these topics like gender roles or abortion, or do you have an idea?
Do you know what? I think I do see, I see comments on local newspapers and comments on these local stories that are very much, they're right-wing rhetoric. Even if it's a Muslim thing, like, you can link Islamophobia quite heavily with those kind of people, the right-wing people.
Yeah.
No doubt, You could say, oh, immigrants coming over to take our jobs. Oh, we don't want this drag show with our kids. Oh, we don't want these Muslims over here. Like, it all fits that same. And you see those comments all the time.
Stereotype.
However, the policing around that, in general, society's sort of demonization of that behavior and not allowing that rhetoric to even exist is what's pushed all of that so far underground, that these people, although they speak and make comments online, they have no unity. They have
no voice. Yeah.
They have no voice or unified group, or they can't all get together and make a statement or whatever. Whilst America does have these havens of protection because they've got states with their own sort of laws and their own regulations, So you might have like Florida was in the news for having some sort of, like, the abortion thing that happened, for example. All the right-wing guys and girls were like celebrating in these.
Next day they're going to ban it,
they're going to ban it and blah blah blah. And so you do have these like havens of right-wingness or Bible belts or whatever you want to call it.
True.
Even when it comes to gun crime and not gun crime, apologies, gun laws, gun rights, like Sharif, for example, and we'll have him on soon, inshallah. But maybe he can shed some light. But Sharif's obviously he's in an open carry state, and he's quite open and happy and confident and proud about that, because he's coming at it from an angle, I get to protect my family and I'm responsible for. Obviously, he's got a history in the Marines, etc. So he's going to have that discipline, and he's going to be one of the people that knows how to handle his weapon properly and not have any sort of psychological issues, etc. But definitely, I can imagine his area is probably a right-leaning, state
Mexico.
because of that. Yeah, I'm sure it probably is.
Yeah. Let's look that up, actually. New Mexico, it's how do we know? Democratic Party currently.
Is it Democrats?
Yeah, currently.
It's kind of split. It's somewhat liberal, so it's 54%. So it's half.
Okay. So it's one of those, what do they call it? Swing state.
Yeah.
Bro, I know. Yeah, I'll say to my wife, I know more about America and American culture and American politics than the UK, like way more.
Dude, when I think New Mexico, I think cowboy hats. I think open land, flat ground, and homesteads. And I'm thinking right wing all over. But I'm surprised to see Democrats there.
Well, what is the capital city of New Mexico? Is it
Albuquerque? Am I completely
Oh, it
wrong?
is. You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, sorry. The capital's Santa Fe, but Albuquerque is
Ah,
the largest city.
oh, right.
Okay, so where is Las Vegas? In Nevada, right, which is next door.
Yeah.
Okay,
I,
because like even
well,
Nevada, you might say, oh yeah, it's southern and this and that, but
close enough.
then in the big cities, some of these big cities, they attract more, liberal leaning people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, bro. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The right wing in America, I think the last, 10 years probably since Trump, since probably just before Trump came in, they started to have more of a voice. Especially the young people, and that's where you've got these media organizations like PragerU, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
what's this that Jewish guy's thing?
Ben Shapiro's.
Yeah, Dren
I
Shapiro.
forgot. Yeah, I forgot the
Is
English.
Daily Wire, yeah.
Name.
Daily Wire with now he's got this Daily Wire Plus, which I think is like Netflix for right
It's funny.
wingers.
It's funny you mentioned that. What was the first one? PragerU. I came across them
PragerU, yeah.
recently. I only came across them recently because I was doing a bit of exploration.
Okay.
I found someone who works for them who was making like really right wing tweets, and he was a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And it suddenly dawned upon me that this is the first graphic design I've ever seen that isn't like left leaning and very. And I was like, whoa, this is such a weird thing. Like, I don't know. I always associate right wingness not with creatives. Like, I don't
Yeah.
associate creatives with right wing
Yeah.
sort of ideologies and ideas. So when I started seeing these right wing creatives, I was like, this is fascinating. It was really interesting. And actually, just seeing their art or their production or what they do and their views manifesting in that. Because obviously, I do graphic design as a Muslim, and I see other Muslim graphic designers. I link with them, and I can see their deen and their values coming through in their work. Liberals, I see that all the time. You flipping have anything on there, right? I see that's what dominates the creative sphere, whether it's movies, music, art, whatever.
Yeah.
But right wing creativity, I don't really see much of that. So yeah, seeing that, and then I discovered PragerU or whatever, and they've got this whole. They obviously produce stuff, and they've got. So I was thinking, dude, can you imagine an organization where the camera guys are all right wing, and the artists are right wing, and the designers are. I just found that fascinating. I don't know why. I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's because PragerU like puts itself out there as a kind of youthful, organization,
Yeah.
and they're targeting young people, right, to either convince them to their way, or to give them a voice and make them feel like, yeah, if you have these beliefs, it's fine. Be open about it. Be proud about your beliefs. But they do have some awful videos. They have some good videos. I like that video they made about it's called if you search toxic masculinity and then PragerU, maybe it will come up. So I like that. But a lot of their videos, like if you watch any of their videos about Palestine, Israel, it'll be awful. Yeah, it'll be awful. Also, they've got this very strong discourse of America is the best country on earth. Our values are the best values on earth. Our values, by the way, because Dennis Prager, who's the founder, and I think he's a rich guy, he funds a lot of it. He is a Jew, a proper Jew, like a religious Jew. And he's like, America's the best country because it was founded on Judeo-Christian values. And Judeo-Christian values are the best values. And we're not going to be politically correct and say that, all values are subjectively good or bad. No, our values are the best values, better than other values. And because of our values, that's why we're at the top economically and everything right now. We're at the top because of our values. I've seen this in their videos. And so they're like, yeah, if these XYZ other countries are not doing well, it's because their values suck. Our value, our culture is better than their culture. So they're very open about that stuff. And obviously I would strongly disagree with that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, well, let's put this into an Islamic eschatology discussion. I do honestly think, in when push comes to shove, and all the evidence is laid out on the table, I do consider that right wing fellows would be more open to accepting Islam than the left leaning liberals, because at the end of the day, at least with right wing, they believe predominantly in a legislation of some sort, and they want to follow that, even if it's the wrong thing. Like they'll hold on to the Bible, right? Or hold on, like you said, Judeo-Christian values, whatever their interpretation of that is. They believe that there is something old that they need to stick to, or traditional values they need to stick to. But this idea of progressiveness and the new, the liberal, the do what you want kind of thing, that I do associate that way more with shaitan. I do associate that way more with just follow what you feel and your feelings. Everyone's free and liberal and all this stuff. And it did remind me of it reminded me of like the Dajjal, when the Dajjal comes, or when Isa alayhi salam returns. When Isa alayhi salam returns, who are the people that are going to follow him? Well, they're going to be the people that thought that they were following Isa before. They thought they were. He's going to come rectify the situation, those who are still left over from the Dajjal, so to speak. And they're probably going to be, but the people that were so infatuated with following their desires and freedom and liberal agendas and whatever, they're not going to want to follow any rules or regulations. They're going to want to do what their heart tells them to do and feel what they want to feel. And all
that is true if what you said is true, which is that they follow the Bible, they stick to the Bible.
No. Yeah, they don't, but they stick to the rhetoric that they respect it and they want to follow it, as opposed to actually following what they think it says.
Yes. The thing is, bro, like even PragerU, which is supposed to be quite sophisticated in terms of understanding values, values they believe in. Bro, they believe in liberalism. Yes. They believe in liberalism. Like these values they're talking about are liberal values, right? Liberal in the term of like libertarian, like they even would call themselves classical liberals. Yes. Classical liberals, meaning we believe in freedom in general, right? And freedom is a high value to aspire to, etc., right? Now, do you think, bro, and remember, especially Jewish law is much stricter than Muslim law, the Islamic law. Yeah. Do you think like Judaism is compatible with liberalism?
I don't even know. Like, this is interesting because I'm looking at it now. I've never been on the website. But to answer your question, I only saw it because I realized that guy was from, but I didn't know anything about it before until clicking now.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, when you say that, it's like, well, there's very clear distinctions on this Judaism versus, the Orthodox Jewish community that you see.
But this is most.
I'd be interested. Yeah, and I'd be interested to see what the relationship is like there.
No, in terms of PragerU and the people like that, I'm saying that their connection to their religion, whether it's Christianity or Judaism, I would say is very superficial, because when they get down to what they believe in, it's all talking about liberalism, classical liberalism, which wallah is actually the same. You've got liberalism, for those who don't understand, and I'm obviously not the best to explain this, but I'm trying out here, So you've got the classical liberalism, which they claim to adhere to, which is all about freedom and freedom to do what you want and blah, 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 And then you have the left wing, or what we would call the liberals or the progressives, yes? Stupid word, progressives, progressives. Progressives is just the next phase of the classical liberalism, but it's from the same values that both of these have come. So if you were actually conservative, like some people, they use that label, that term, right? If you're actually conservative, surely you should actually be going against liberalism. But they don't want to go back further than when did liberalism even get born? Like probably in the 19th century or something. And I know it goes back a bit further than that, but in America at least. So they don't want to go back further than that to actual Christianity and actual Judaism.
They want the 1950s, bro. That's all they want.
The 1950s, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is they use Jews and Judaism, Christianity, values, this and that, and they claim to oppose the left wing. They're the same, bro. Like from our perspective, and I'm saying this because you're talking about the end times and allying with different. Well, they're really, when you get down to it, they're very similar in terms of the fundamental values. It's just one of them takes it a bit further. One of them likes to be more politically correct than the other, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, maybe that's it then. Maybe it's more about being frozen in time as opposed to moving forward. It's because honestly, when I think
we're frozen in time as well.
This is it. No, honestly, I honestly think 1950s every single time.
Yeah, like which is not something like we would aspire to per se, isn't it?
No. But clearly, it's for them. It's better than it is now, and it made more sense, at least in a retrospective way. And I guess
we can agree with that, right?
We could, in some respects, it's that kind of classic, like, honey, I'm home lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? Honey, I'm home. What's
Wait,
for
is Honey, I'm
dinner?
Home from
We're having
Flintstones?
meat. I don't know. It's just a general saying, isn't it? Honey, I'm
No, no,
home.
no.
What's for
It
dinner? Oh,
comes
we've got
from something.
meatloaf. We've got
Yes,
meatloaf for dinner. Where are the
yes,
kids? They're just
yeah,
they're eating worms in the garden.
yeah. Everyone's got a suburban house and a car and
Yeah,
all of that.
that's it. You know, big job in a big city.
I mean, it's very dunyo-y, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, because that was the prime time of American dream, at least in retrospect. I can't speak
Yeah,
for it how it was because I wasn't there, and it
yeah,
could have been crap. It could have been awful. But
yeah.
you know,
Depends
even
who
in
you
pop
were, I
culture,
think. Yeah.
in rhetoric, like those are always presented as the golden ages of America.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, they were top tier manufacturers. They were making all the cars. They were making all the things. They were taking over the world, and that's what they want to get back to. They want to get back
Yeah.
to that rhetoric, make America great again.
You know what's funny, bro? 19 When was it, bro? 1960 something, 62 or something like that. I think no, that date stuck in my head because that's Algerian independence. But 1960 something is when the Civil Rights Act or whatever was,
Right.
what's the word, put into law or whatever. So in the 1950s, yeah, it was a bad time if you were not white. Yeah,
100%.
it was a
100%.
bad time. So it's not exactly like the golden age for those people, at least.
Yeah. My wife.
And also, what does that say about the morals of the society and the government at that time as well?
Yeah.
I
was
mean,
going
the
to say, my
FBI
wife.
was assassinating these Black Panthers and all of that.
Oh,
Go
yes,
on.
that's it. That's it. No, yeah, and this is it. You can see it in rose tinted. Like my wife loves that aesthetic. You know, that kind of housewife life back in those days. It is very pretty and very nice to look at. At least that kind of aesthetic, right? But I always say to her, like, she's quite fair skinned and stuff. I say, yeah, you'd be fine there. I wouldn't be with you. Like the town wouldn't let me. You know, I would have been chased out of town or something like that. Like, so there is that element of it, and I mean, who are we anyway? I'm some dude in the UK with a messed up, and I'm talking about America. I've never even set foot there. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. So half of this we're going to leave for when Sharif's next on. See what he thinks about the whole thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, bro. So what about Will Smith? Because I said I wanted to speak about him a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and we never did in the end. But
Oh, did we not? I thought we did.
no, we didn't really. And there's a lot of different dimensions to take it from. But tell me about this? So obviously, like in the recent history, what I understand, yeah, is that there was something where his wife kind of cheated on him, and he seemed to be okay with that publicly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they talked about it publicly, right?
Yeah.
And then there also is this is where I'm taking my pieces of the puzzle from. Okay, so there's that, and then there's the fact that his kids are kind of a bit, how do you say it? A bit weird, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Definitely weird, but sometimes weird is good. But in this case, probably not in a good way. Even his son? I just learned about this from reading about his son. Is that you can sign some sort of legal paper to how do you say it, to make your parents not responsible for you or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
So his son got that done at a young age.
He wanted to. He didn't do it.
Oh, they didn't do it in the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. But
So that's one thing. You know, both of the kids are seem to have been sucked into Hollywood and the music industry and all of that.
Yeah.
And then you've got the whole, what else? So the whole slapping incident at what was that, Oscars or something? Was it Oscars?
Yeah, it was the Oscars, yeah.
So Will Smith slapped some was it Chris Rock who made a joke about his wife? What else? Is there anything else part of this story?
Yeah, I mean, she cheated on him with his son's best friend or something like that.
Okay.
Which is even more of a like detrimental. But then she justified it in a way.
Oh, there was one more element which was like there was one interview which was, I think, was being shared around, where it's like the mother was on TV with her daughter explaining to her. No, I don't actually want to talk about it.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember it was.
But basically,
it was
it's extremely feminist, extreme feminist narrative, basically.
Absolutely.
So, you know, Will Smith right now, he's humiliated on multiple fronts, you know. So on one front, it's like his wife cheated on him, and he was on publicly, like, I'm fine with that. yeah. And then on the other front, it's like he slapped Chris Rock, and now he's been banned from the Oscars or whatever, and he's apologizing for it publicly. So as far as I'm concerned, that's double whammy, because you could have your wife do that, and you kind of take it publicly, and that becomes your persona, and you own it, and you say, yeah, I fully believe in this thing. Yeah, this whole freedom to do whatever, and open relationships or whatever. He could have taken that side, but the second act that he did of slapping Chris Rock means no, he didn't fully take that side. But then he got what's the word I just used about him? He got humiliated from that side by being banned. So he could have taken one side and owned it, but he actually didn't do either. No, and I feel like he lost out fully.
There's that saying that like the most simplest explanation is often the truest one.
Okay.
You know? And when I saw that, I was in Tunisia when he did that slap. I could not stop laughing. I was just laughing all day. And every time I'd remember it, I'd just laugh again.
You know, there was that meme that they mixed in with it, that Indian guy who's like, how can she slap?
Yeah, absolutely. There was so many memes. But look, when I saw that, I was like, this is, to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people, this is evidence of a broken man that doesn't know how to take back control of his family and his life. You know, they have that Red Table Talk podcast thing where they literally, she gets on there, I think it's her show, and they just TMI.
Like his wife,
Yeah, too much info about their life and too much info about their relationship and putting it out there like everybody needs to know. And then obviously they brought him on about this because there was this allegation that was floating around, like she cheated on him with some friend of her son's. Oh, he said it. The friend actually came out and he was like, oh, I'm in love with her and blah, 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 and all this stuff. I can't remember anyway. But yeah, they denied it at first, but then they came out and thought, we need to address this. Let's address it. Obviously, more content. I'm sitting there like, this guy, Will Smith, like, come on. This is Will Smith we're talking about. Like the hero of the 90s, bro. And when I see Will Smith, even now, I think this guy could literally have anything he wants. Absolutely. He could honestly, if he had a bit of self-confidence and a bit of, but he's been demasculated so much to the extent like he's on this leash. Like I'm not condoning, by the way, him having whatever he wants. I'm just saying that he's got the ability to do that. He hasn't lost that. He could, with his own autonomy, have whatever he wanted, whatever woman he wanted, probably anything he wanted, with the charisma and whatever he had.
Absolutely.
But it's so much to the extent. I mean, you brought up Tupac earlier. She used to be in love with Tupac, and she always talks about how she wishes she was with Tupac and not him, and all this stuff. And
this is a woman to drop years ago.
He comes out in the open. Will Smith comes out in the open and says, "Oh, you know, I always felt awkward around Pac. I always felt awkward around him, and I couldn't really have a relationship with him because of my wife Jada and blah blah blah." She used to write poems about him, and he used to write poems to her, and it's still, dude. And it just shows you the power of any man to be controlled to that extent by a woman and not necessarily be able to let go and not see the light. Because you know what? When he did the slap, I realized like the joke was something about G.I. Jane, and she's got alopecia, I think, and she made her lose her hair, you know. And this is Chris Rock. This is a comedy show. Like he should know more than anyone that you're just gonna get. That's what comedy is to them, isn't it? I'm not saying it's right, but those are the standards, and everybody knows, and everyone's familiar with that in Hollywood. And he just snapped. But on the camera, there's obviously the reaction when he made that joke, the camera turns to both of them. She's got a straight face and looks very upset. He's laughing. The camera cuts back to Chris Rock. He's laughing, but it stays on him as Will Smith gets up, goes over there, and just smacks her across the face, right? And then he goes, "Don't ever talk about my wife again," or something along those lines. And I'm like, this is a guy that is basically trying to get back control, but he's so desperate.
His fitra kicked in for a second.
Yeah. He's so desperate for approval. He's so desperate for... His fitra should have kicked in. He should have got up and left, like forever. That's what it is. His kids are old enough, and he could just reclaim his life. He could literally...
But he could and probably should have done that, what, 10 years ago? 15 years ago? Yeah.
Look, on the grand scheme of pop culture, who is she? Like, what's she done? She was a hippo
I don't really know, bro.
Madagascar. That's what I remember. She was in The Matrix. She does some voice work. She's got podcasts now. Like Will Smith could go and audition for some film, become the lead, and suddenly take over the world again. Like he's still got that charisma, right?
Do you think he stayed with her because of these laws that would mean he has to give half his stuff to her.
There is that, but you know what? There is that, and you know what? It's worth it because you can make that money back tomorrow. Like, because the story, I don't think he realizes this. I can't believe we're talking about this. This is crazy, guys. But the story of his comeback would be so much more impactful.
Yeah,
as
I
like
had an
a
idea
up-and-coming man.
about that actually.
Because this reminds me of what we said about the fall of people, the fall of
Yeah,
quote unquote great men in society.
yeah,
Sometimes their darkest and worst moments are actually just the trigger point for their incredible comeback. And I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of a good example, but I can't
that's
think
the
of one right
story
now.
arc, bro, isn't it? That's the
It is.
classic
It's like a
story
movie.
arc. Yeah.
But he came back. He came back with apology. He came back every time.
Yeah, he
comes back
came
and
down
just-
back with his what's it called? His tail between his legs, kind of apology.
Do you know what would have been an amazing comeback? Do the
Yeah.
apology. I rate the apology. He shouldn't have slapped the guy. Whatever. Well, he shouldn't have slapped him for that joke because this
No,
is
I
the
think he
industry.
should have slapped him if, how do you say it? If that was him, yeah. If he's known that that's how I roll, yeah.
Yeah,
Then
but-
then be that 100% of the time. The problem is when one day you're okay with your wife acting like that, and then a year later you're like slapping something. It's like, what? Who are you?
I think it's different. Like if the joke was about his wife's infidelity, yeah, it would have hurt, but he ain't got the right to slap because he was okay with it. But if this was more about her health, I think, and her losing her hair and whatever, and he probably something went in there thinking he has to defend her, and probably saw her reaction, and actually he was probably guilty that he laughed and she wasn't laughing, and then he had to do something about it in that moment.
I
Right?
thought
That's
people were saying that she laughed.
No,
She
no, it was
laughed at
opposite.
it.
No, 100%. Her face was straight. At least in that split second that you see them, he's laughing and she's straight faced. And even his son, bro, his son tweeted afterwards like, "That's how we do." Like his son was happy that they got up and slapped him. But no, that was 100%. Like that was the opportunity for him to apologize to Chris Rock, say, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. I apologize to your mum, and to Jada, I'm leaving you because you're not good for me." Because look at the stuff
You mean in the moment there?
yeah, in that moment, that would have been
That
it.
would be sick.
That would have been epic. And then
Epic,
suddenly we
yeah.
have the return of the, and then he can be in Men in Black 4, and then we can have the good old days back.
Oh, was he in that third Men in Black?
He was in all. Yeah, there's a fourth. Oh no, I said 4, didn't I? There was one recently.
No, because I remember there
He
was a
wasn't in
third one, which was like the feminist Men in Black. Yeah.
What?
Was he in that?
He was in 1. He was in 2.
No, I'm talking. Yeah, I'm talking about.
There's
3.
another one called. Is there a 3? There's a Men in Black International.
Yeah, that's
came out
the
recently.
feminist
Is that the
one. I
third
think.
one?
Yeah.
No. The third one is when he goes back in time for Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, I don't
International
know.
is the fourth one.
So international is another one. So the
Yeah.
international one is what I'm talking about. Was he in that one?
No, he's not in that one at all.
Oh, okay, good. So that's not
nothing to
too
do.
bad on his side. But yes, absolutely, bro. He should have left her. And let's say he's got assets of $100 million. Yeah, it's worth $50 million to leave her for your dignity. Buy your
Dude, 'cause
dignity back.
You can make that money back on the
Yes,
comeback.
and
Absolutely.
this is what I would do. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. I made a whole master plan for him. Yeah. So what he does is, yeah, I like what you added in terms of the announcement at the whole thing.
Yeah,
I like that. That's it. That's next level. Yeah. Do that. Yeah, and then go all in on YouTube. Yeah, because he already was quite big on YouTube. He had his whole thing. Go all in on YouTube, and he can actually be the voice of men. Yeah, voice of men that are fed up with this and that, because he just spent $50 million getting his dignity back
Worth
off
it.
his wife. Yeah,
Worth it.
he make that 50 million back with some sort of products that he can now sell to his new audience of men that they're gonna think he's sick. Because remember, Will Smith is kind of the man in terms of he's a high performer. Like he was a rapper, he was an actor, he was, I don't know, even physically, right? He's like into some sort of I don't even know. Yeah. Whatever he does, he seems to succeed. So a lot of people will look up to him, for that. So overnight, bro, he can do this whole Andrew Tate $50 a month thing easily, yeah. And he'd be way bigger than Andrew Tate anyway.
100%.
He's got his acting career, which a lot of people say he's a really good actor, so can get the roles. Maybe he'd be blacklisted a bit from Hollywood, but I'm sure he'll be fine.
The thing is, dude, he won an Oscar that night. He won the Oscar that night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for a film he did. So that was
Yeah.
was really awkward. He got up there and gave a speech while crying just after he slapped the guy. So it was like, this is it. Like, this is your... And he talks about the great, sometimes the devil comes and gets you at your, your proudest moment or something like that, and all these things. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, but I will say something. I don't want to praise the guy more than I should have, because I watched a documentary where he was trying to lose weight. Right, he got in bad shape. He put up an Instagram post. He looked worse than me. All right, and I was like, "Yo, okay." He did this thing where he was getting followed. They were doing a documentary, bro. On that documentary, he was such a prima donna. He was like shouting at his staff that are trying to help him. He was being grumpy with them. He wouldn't wake up for, he had a gym, a personal trainer that would come to his house and wake him up at 6 a.m, whatever. And he just basically the documentary ended. It was cut short or abruptly, or I stopped watching it, but at least
really?
because he didn't do the goal. He didn't finish it. He was just grumpy all the time. And he's like, I don't want to do this, blah, blah. But the way he was acting, I was like, oh, I forgot that these people are actors. That's what they do. They get on the microphone, they say all the right things, but in their private lives, they're prima donnas, and they think the world revolves around them. And this is why, like, when you see some of his posts or see some of his content, it's all like, he's trying to give me the advice, like the world revolves around him, like he's the source of all knowledge. And when you're a kid, like his children that grow up in that environment, of course they're going to think everything's flipping made for them. Like they all think that they're put on this earth for some great, incredible purpose, and like them being in the leaders in the entertainment industry is like a God-given, like it's almost like they're prophets, bro. Like honestly, they think they were put on this earth for some incredible purpose to inspire millions of people. Like that's some sort of like,
bro, you're a clown.
You're a clown. You're an entertainer. You're a jester in the king's court.
That's
what you
are.
You are. It's true.
No, I mean, I respect someone who, when they want to achieve something, they go and achieve it, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't mean that as a personality he's great. I don't know the details of that, Yanni. Yeah, definitely. But the point is, yeah, he could have had that crash and then come straight up out of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
And this, it's a bit of a what's the word? A symbol. It's a symbol of what maybe less well-off, less famous men go through because of the situation with the legal system or whatever, in terms of the divorce laws or whatever, Even the way his kids turned out, what I sensed is that he wouldn't have had it that way, but maybe his wife had quite a strong influence on them.
Yeah, you can tell straight away she's got a very strong and overbearing sort of personality, and there's clips that come out every now and again. There's like this clip one time where she's like, "Oh, we're getting counselling and blah blah blah," and she puts the camera in his face and he's like, "I don't want to be recorded, like I don't want," and then she's like, blah, blah, blah. Like it's like typical stuff, like typical things. But
I guess this shows you that if you're not confident, then you could be Will Smith and you can still get humiliated. What you just described, no one has to take that, no one, but especially someone rich and famous and this and that doesn't have to take that, but he took it.
Yeah, and I do see guys that are, I don't want to say, I'm not even exaggerating, I have seen guys that are in these kind of traps. I call them a trap. It's like this, like you are deeply unhappy and deeply, you've got an issue here and you can't take control, you can't take back control, and you need to, and I get it if there's kids involved. I can imagine, alhamdulillah, I haven't got that problem. I don't know how I would be if I had that problem, like with kids and stuff. If I was trapped in that sort of situation where I felt like I couldn't express my masculinity or my leadership or my dominance of a situation, I'm not talking about like little disagreements or whatever, or but
something
when
fundamental,
something fundamental, and I can see that creeping in. Like I could see that creeping in if your wife makes more than you, or you make just as much as your wife, or you understand you've married somebody who doesn't value or doesn't identify with these traditional gender roles or whatever. Like I could see that being really
absolutely
toxic, really
that was actually one of my biggest fears before I got married. That was my biggest fear. And when I realized how bad that setup could be, it was that day that I decided I'm not in a hurry anymore to get married. Like, not that I don't want to just I'm not going to get married quickly to get married quickly. I'm going to get married to the right person, because otherwise it could actually ruin my entire life, And I realized, like, whatever, Allah can bring me the ideal wife tomorrow or in 5 years. I just don't want the unideal wife at all, Yanni,
Yes, it is tough. That's where like my sympathy comes in for him, because I could think, well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he loves his kids, And I'm sure whatever he doesn't want to. I know they're old, and I think, well, they're older now. You could probably carry on living your life like
No,
fine.
but
And stuff.
yeah,
But even
in his
so,
case,
the emotional.
in his case, wouldn't it be normal for him? Like, he can get divorced. There's no custody because they're adults.
Yeah, it's just. I think the values that he has are probably very family orientated, and he's positioned himself in this very. But it's not the first time he's got divorced. He's got another son, by the way, from an ex-woman that I
Okay.
don't know much about, who's older than all of them, the kid. So
Okay.
it's not the first time. So I don't know. Just
It's that
Will
$50
Smith-
million, bro.
you want to know a secret?
You're
Will
right.
Smith. Will Smith. I'm speaking to Will Smith right now. Will Smith. I'm looking right at you in the camera. I sent you a DM after this happened. I promise you, on your Instagram, I turned to my wife, and I said, I'm going to actually do this because no point in me talking about this stuff online and not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So I sent you a DM, Will Smith. I tried to invite you to this beautiful religion of Islam. I really did. Because when you did that slap, I said, this is his time. This is the prime time for a comeback. I said, imagine if he came out of this Muslim. Like,
Yeah.
his naysayers would be like, oh, yeah, so he's a violent guy and he's become Muslim. But he could have flourished.
Yeah.
He could have flourished, baby. It could have been incredible. Because even his wife was like putting on a hijab at one point in Dubai and blah, 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 and appreciate. I thought, this is it. Imagine he comes back Muslim. This is your time to shine, baby. So, and there was a Dean show thing where they interviewed, I think, someone who was close to him who was Muslim or something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
One of his
Obviously,
close friends was Muslim.
I created this business master plan for him. It wouldn't help him in the akhirah much, but
No.
my thing was just master planning, that side of things. But absolutely, bro, like, Islam would give him his dignity back, you know?
I need to find out if he even read my message, bro.
So you sent that to him recently, yeah?
I sent it to him after the slap, 100%. Because I was like, dude, do you know what? All we do is talk about people.
Yeah.
And I might as well just shoot my shot. Just shoot it. What else?
Yeah.
What could go wrong? And no, he never read it. It was on the 8th of April. I said, hey, I tried to be a bit more approachable, yeah? So I said, hey, Will. I didn't even say Mr. Smith, bro. I didn't say Will Smith. I said, hey, Will. Like, we know each other. We go way back. I said, hey, Will. Islam is what you need. Take some time out to reflect on it and allow it to bring order into your life. And I put a little love heart in there. Look, that's Will Smith right there. I kid you not. I'm 100% true about what I said.
Love heart, bro. That's like, you have to know your audience, innit? I feel like he would vibe with that.
Yeah, look, guys, look. We can all sit here and talk, but at least I shot my shot. What do you guys do? Huh? What do you guys do?
Check this out, yeah? This article, it's on Yahoo News. I don't know if that means it's trustworthy or not. It says that in the first half of 2020 alone, he earned $45 million.
Bro, you can make that in a day.
Probably half of that has to go to taxes. But basically, he's worth, more than $100 million probably. So whatever it is, give her stuff if you have to give her stuff, but be free, buy your dignity back. Come to Islam. We get you a good Muslim wife that you won't have these troubles with.
Bro, just you just need, people need realignment, that's all it is. Realignment to the fitrah. Like, bro, my son, alhamdulillah, Allah barak, the fitrah is just like flourishing in him. We teach him what we can and he just runs with it, and that's just the way he is now. Like, he says things about the deen and he'll say things about Allah.
Can't take you seriously with the glasses.
Sorry, yeah,
they're not yours, are they?
No, they're my wife's. She's left them.
Okay, that would be brave of you.
These are mine. These are my Morpheus ones. So I say,
Yeah.
Neo, do you want the red pill or the blue pill? He was actually meant to be Neo, bro. Do you know that? They approached him to be Neo and he turned it down because he wanted to make Wild Wild West. Anyway.
I can't say that was a good or bad decision, really.
No, it's a bad decision, bro.
You think
I didn't see Wild Wild West, but I remember hearing that the ratings were very bad.
Yes. So what do we learn from this situation?
Give dawah to celebrities. They need it more than a lot of people. That's what you need to do. A long time ago, I had this idea when we were doing Muslim Youth Movement to do dawah to celebrities. And then I think Dawah Man caught wind of it and he was like, yo, yeah, that's great. But that's after I'd left.
He had that whole trend of that, didn't he?
Where do you think it came from?
Morpheus.
No, 100%. He might not even remember this, but it's a scoop. It's a Mind Heist scoop. That whole thing came from me. It was my fault. because I was in my young sort of phase of practicing. I was like, why are we giving doubts to celebrities? They got lots of followers. But honestly, like logically speaking, yeah, it makes sense. If some celebrity becomes Muslim, it's very impactful. But then, yeah, I think there was a few questionable videos that came out of that, trying to give dawah to, I think it was Eminem or something like that. That was my idea. That was
Yeah.
I've got this faint memory of like the Quran being compared to lyrics or something and other stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a long time ago.
It's funny, bro. It's been a long time since those days. What has it been? 10 years?
Must be. Started practicing 10 years ago.
Yeah. What you don't want to do, which obviously most people do because they start this stuff when they're young. What you don't want to do is like grow up publicly online. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, but the problem is, it's like most people are going to start when they're like 20 or something versus starting when they're 30.
It does go back onto that topic actually that's been running through this episode, which is the reacting to your downfalls or your mistakes or the dark times, you know, at least in a public sphere. We see that with some shuyukh and stuff or da'is, and, you know, they get into scandals or and I'm not interested in the scandal. I'm more interested in the comeback, you know, because maybe not a lot of people do that, but I already position myself as, well, he's just sinning. And we spoke about this before. I just found out about a sin he does. You know, the sins that he says he always commits in every lecture where he says, I sin and you sin. Yeah, you've just found out about one. Congratulations.
He meant it. He wasn't joking.
And we said this before, and there's a very famous Mind Heist clip, which isn't that famous, but I remember unequivocally saying, what sin would you be happy with if you found out? Like if you found out your sheikh, your favorite sheikh sins, whether it was cigarettes or whether it was zina. If you found out that Sheikh XYZ that you listen to all the time is a heavy smoker, you'd be like, oh, no, I don't listen to him anymore. Well, what sin would you accept? You wouldn't accept anything. It would spoil your appetite for whatever that lecture is or whatever. So, yeah, you found out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have not exposed. We don't even know if it's true. Some of it's just allegations and whatever. But the comeback is more important. Comeback is what I like to see. Because do I see improvement? I've seen some people that have been involved in scandals. They've come back and they've just got this tunnel vision focus now. You know, they come back with this, like, my intention, I've repented or I've taken some time off, I've come back, and now my intention is just benefit, you know.
That's why you should, even if there is no downfall, but like every year or a few years, you should take time to step back and think about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that, don't we? We get too comfortable, and when things are going good, that's when we get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, that's when you slip and make mistakes, you know, and you think that things are going great now. There's no way things will go wrong. And then it goes wrong. And a lot of the time it's because of your own actions, because you've left crumbs, as Matthew McConaughey quite said one time. I love that speech. You ever heard that speech? Don't leave crumbs. Oh, I love that speech. Great speech.
What kind of speech is it?
It's about, he goes through all these rules that he made for himself in life, but one of them is like, don't leave crumbs. And it's like, don't do things, big or small, that you would continue to be watching over your back like throughout the rest of your life. So it could be like, oh, you skipped out on paying someone something you owed them, right? Or you cheated someone in a particular way, or you cut a corner here or there, or you just weren't honest and upfront at the time when you could have easily been so. But what that does is you leave this trail of crumbs that will come and bite you back one day, right? And it's that kind of thing. And the same with sins, like sinning or cheating on people or whatever it is. It's like those things that you leave behind will one day come back and bite you in the butt, whether in this life or the next. The way he says it is obviously much better than the way I'm saying it. I mean, he's a top tier actor, and I'm me. But I'll send it to you.
You could have been an actor,
bro. I should have been. Sometimes I think about it. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I could be the Marvel guy. I could be the Spider-Mans. I'm the guy.
You know, in England, people do drama in school, innit? I never did that.
Yeah, I did that. My wife said she didn't though. We had this conversation the other day. My wife's like, "Oh, do you do drama in school?" I was like, "Yeah, loved it. I was the guy."
I can imagine. I was not that guy. You know, out of those kind of, we did have music and art class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Art, I feel sorry for those teachers, because in our school, you know, we remember, this is not UK, this is UAE. Okay. So There were a few, you know, Swedish kids, English kids that are like good, they're cool with it. Everyone else was like, yeah, I'm Arab, I don't rate art, I don't rate music. Yeah, music haram.
Really?
Yeah, we just messed around for the whole time, and we
No,
had
we
to
didn't
do
have
it.
that.
We had to do it up till like year 7 or 9, I can't remember. But we just messed around. We didn't take it seriously. Yeah.
Wow,
And
interesting.
the teacher, literally imagine a teacher who's very passionate about music, trying to teach you about Tchaikovsky or something, and you're
Yeah.
just like, wow, laughing, cracking jokes.
Oh no, you're awful.
Not fun.
I mean, you're not awful. I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I did it all, bro. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I was a jack of all trades. Did the music, I did the flipping arts, I did the everything, drama.
So you did in
Right.
school, you did drama and music and art, like everyone did those subjects. Yeah.
Everything, yeah, everything. Up until year whatever, I can't remember GCSEs, but before that, yeah, we were doing everything.
I claim to like think that creativity is important, but I still deep down I feel like they're just waste of space subjects.
Maybe, dude. Like I'm self-taught. I mean, obviously, I don't play now. I haven't played in 100 years, but I was self-taught piano. Like I just taught myself how to play piano, and I was pretty good. I used to perform for like my class and stuff, and I was very very briefly in a band,
Choir.
very small one. No, not choir, but no piano, like piano, bro. Yeah, there's still some stuff floating out there which I'm not going to share. I can't delete because I don't know the login because it was part of my old friends group and I don't even know them anymore. But it's out there, which is annoying. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
You
it's
can flex
expression, isn't it?
creativity muscles without having to do art classes or
But this is it. This is,
music or...
and that's why I find I don't say the limits, but some of the rules that we have in this deen in terms of like not creating sculptures or music, for example, or stuff. That puts people off a lot of the time to be creative, right? But I like those rules because it's like a healthy challenge. Like, okay, how can I make something that is up to par with the mainstream as close as possible without necessarily, being detrimental to my belief system or whatever? Because, yeah, we should be able to, create nice things. We can have nice things, can't we? Yeah, the mosques are nice. Who built that? Otherwise, we'd have. I mean, in general, anything. We can make nice things, all right? Allah loves beauty. Allah loves beauty. So let's make nice things.
I think the cultures that we come from, I feel like, depending where in the Arab world, minus the Khalij maybe, it's 50-50 in this area. I feel like South Asia is very non-creative, very, how do we say it?
You make all the controversial statements, I mean.
How is this controversial? It's just an opinion about a culture. About
South Asians are not creative, right? All the South Asians.
I didn't say the people are not creative. Well, I mean, I'm saying the culture is not. Oh, let me show you where this comes from, okay? Because this framework is now making sense to me from this book, which was, by the way, I learned about this book from the Telegram group, The Whole Brain Child. That's what it's called. So far in the book, they talked about this concept of. It's quite interesting. This guy was saying that mental health problems people have definitions for, like depression and bipolar and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
yeah? But we don't have a definition of good mental health. What is good mental health? So he said good mental health, he gave an analogy. It's like you're in the stream, you're going through the stream. One bank is chaos and the other bank is rigidity. Yeah?
Yep.
Good mental health is when you're right in the middle of the stream and you're just flowing. When you go to one side and hit one of the banks, you're not in alignment. You've not integrated both of those sides of your brain, if you like, the chaos side and the rigidity side. And when I heard that, I started seeing it everywhere. Like myself, for example, I am clearly very close to the rigidity side. I'm the scientific type of person, the engineering type of brain, I like rules, I like structure and all of that. And then you have the chaos side, which is like the creativity side, right? Where rules don't matter. Let's just see where things go. Let's not plan too much. Let's just throw it out there. A bit of, what's that word?
No.
Spontaneity, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Spontaneity. And this is the polarity of me and you, right? So that's why this podcast is beautiful. So I'm saying all that to say that South Asian culture is very much more on the rigidity side. Yes.
Okay.
The engineering brain type, right? And then you might say, I don't know if European is the best, but like maybe European, maybe Mediterranean culture is more on the chaos side, right? That's what I said. In the Arab world, there's bits of each, but maybe more to the chaos side, I suppose. And so you're going to find it hard to get creativity out of people whose culture is on that leaning to that rigidity side, you know?
Right.
And either of these, I'm sure, can be cultivated, right? If you wanted to cultivate it. But it's just if you come from that culture, and a lot of Muslims come from those cultures, anywhere east, even China, you know, a lot of it is that rigidity, compliance kind of thing, rules, we like rules kind of thing. So that's where you're going to find a lot of creativity or less from where that culture sits between these two extremes.
It's not always just one. Like, you could be rigid in a lot of things and then chaotic in other things, couldn't you? I suppose. Like when you say the polarity between me and you, yeah, I do think, okay, I lean towards chaotic in the creative sphere and stuff. But then I feel like Islam really brought me some more rigid kind of characteristics, or like what I spoke about before, like my father's kind of way of dealing with things in the world that I've inherited now has made me a lot more rigid in certain things, which I'm trying to challenge, trying to get out of my shell. But yeah, like I like rules now. Like I follow them. I try and follow them as much as possible because I know what to expect. And that kind of, some chaos can be concerning and not knowing. But then at the same time, you know, you could also combine that. Like Islam is beautiful because it guides you. Like when it comes to being spontaneous, okay, you could cultivate spontaneity by saying, I'm going to put my trust completely in Allah in this situation. Yeah, I've done what I can, but if I was super rigid without Islam, I'd be meticulously trying to manage a situation or achieve what I want to such a degree that I feel like I can control the universe. You know, I can, through my decisions, I can make sure that everything goes the way I plan. And if it doesn't, I'm going to lose my mind. While someone a bit more chaotic and spontaneous can say, well, we'll see what happens. I'm going to shoot my shot and we'll see where we end up, right? And Islam is a balance there, because you put the planning down to a reasonable level, but you leave that which is outside of your control to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as opposed to thinking that you can control the uncontrollable, you know, and getting frustrated when it doesn't. So yeah, Islam is that middle path in all these matters.
Yeah, well, the ultimate would be to be able to pull from both sides. You know, that would be, and that's what the guys say in the book. Like that is mental. The definition of mental health is when you're in the middle between those two, and those two are in harmony with each other. And they would talk about it from the in relation to children and children's development. And I also was seeing it in my son, where sometimes, I don't know if there's normal for toddlers or not, by the way, but sometimes he'll be like, I want water. And so you're like, okay, you get him water, you give him water. And he's like, no, it has to be from that cup. It must be from that cup. Yeah, is that common? Okay. Yeah. So I've seen this type of behavior from him a lot. And I start to think he's got it from me, you know, because I'm very much, you know, rules and a bit of OCD. But you're saying it's common, yeah? So it's normal, or?
Yeah, I think so. There's these little fixations and stuff. But
yeah. So that's what they're saying in the book, that if your child is being like that, it means that he's gone far to that rigidity side, you know?
Yeah.
And you need to help them to harmonize between the two, and that would be best for them, Yani.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it is interesting actually seeing it from a developmental situation with kids. Like Suleiman, he draws a lot. He likes coloring. He likes art. He likes that stuff. But dude, is he obsessed with maths? It's weird. Honestly, I went to a barbecue recently. Anyone follow me on Instagram, you see a picture of me at a barbecue. I took my son with me because I remember what he said. And I was like, oh yeah, this is it. There's an opportunity for me to take my son somewhere. I haven't done this in ages. Took him with me, bro. Went all the way to London, just me and him. Dude, he was like, number one, it's like I wasn't his dad anymore. He went and just wanted to play with everyone else. Then I saw him with like this teenage kid, maybe 17-year-old boy that was there. And he was with him and with him and with him and with him. And I was like, what is my son doing over there with this teenage boy I don't know anything about? not assuming the bad of him. I just didn't know. It was just weird.
Was he part of your Jamaat?
Yeah, but I think he was a family member of one of the hosts, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, I'm looking at a distance. I'm like, what's going on? And then he's bouncing between that teenage boy and this elderly man who is, I think, is like the granddad all day. Nowhere near me, bro.
Good.
Anyway, afterwards, I went up to that the boy and I was like, Akhi, like, what were you doing with him? Well, no, I didn't ask him. I asked Suleiman, sorry. I asked Suleiman, I was like, what are you doing over there? He goes, oh, he's teaching me maths. And I'm looking, and then when I look at him, I'm realizing he's showing him like an equation. He's like, guess what it is? Guess what the answer is?
Oh.
And then there's another one, obviously, where he's talking to the elderly man, but the elderly chap is
about dinosaurs.
Well, he's Afghan, bro, and I don't even think English was his like first language. I don't think he could understand much of what was being said. But dude, my son was just talking to him. And then I did kind of realize, I was like, you know what? This is exactly what Amin said. This is what Amin was talking about him having the ability, because he doesn't have elderly people around him in his life. He doesn't have, like, my father passed away, and he doesn't have his granddads here, his other granddad here. He doesn't see him a lot. He doesn't really, have that kind of interaction, especially with a man that age, who'd be old enough to be my granddad. SubhanAllah. And then young, the teenage years, he doesn't mix with anyone. So I was like, dude, he's mixing with people. He's loving it. I love this. I was like, thank you, Amin.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like when you were saying like he wasn't with you all the time, I was like, yeah, that's the intention, Yani.
Yeah. He was learning stuff. He was even learning. One of the beautiful things, Akhi, wallahi, and actually this, I know we've kind of gone off topic of what I was trying to say, but this was beautiful. He was learning manners from other people on how to treat me, which was, and I'll show you why. So beautiful. he wanted to do things, and they would tell him, ask your dad first, because they didn't want to get in trouble. And then he learned that he had to ask me permission, even for the most simplest things. So like he had a water bottle. It was one of those really hot days recently. He had a water bottle, and there was ice, and there was all sorts of stuff and different drinks, and he just wanted ice in his water bottle. And they, mashallah, these brothers, the younger brothers, but they were so, they had that tarbiyah that they were aware that they should ask me, I'm his father, first. But I wouldn't even have that thought about myself. I wouldn't even consider that they'd ask me for that. They could just do it. But he kept coming to me and he said, can I have ice in my bottle? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. And then I noticed they were waiting for me to give the go-ahead. Okay. So he was learning, and he kept doing stuff like that. Oh, can I have this packet of crisps? Or can I go and play upstairs with the kids? So he started asking me for permission, all this stuff, when actually, maybe normally, in that environment, a kid would just do it without thinking he needed to ask permission. So yeah, he was learning tarbiyah there from other brothers, and it was actually really, really beneficial in that regard. So yeah, take your kids to good people, I suppose.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And I was thinking of you every single moment, bro. Wallahi. I was thinking of what you said. Because it was powerful, because I remember you talking about it. And I remember thinking, yeah, I grew up going to things with my dad. And I learned certain modes of behavior and elements of tarbiyah from that. How to greet people, how to sit among elders, how to, when not to get involved in a conversation, and it's educational. It's life skills.
Yeah, how else are you going to become a man if you don't mix with men? Just mix with kids.
Well, you're forced to behave like a kid with them. You don't realize you're doing it. Whether it's like the goo goo gaga voice, or you're talking to them with, like, automatically when you're with children, you behave a bit childish because you want to appeal to them. But that means you're always, you can't help it, bro. Well, I can't help it. Yeah. I'm conscious of it. Yeah. But dude, I'm sure like when they're babies, you're doing it.
Oh, absolutely. But then when
there's a transition,
it's just when they can start talking, it went for me, at least with the first one. It was gone. Because I'm trying more actively now, just to literally talk to him like I would talk to a 25-year-old, and even like, when they start asking why is this and why everything, I literally like give them the same answer I would give like a 25-year-old. I try, because I believe that they have more ability to learn than we think, So if I tell him, if he says, why are the clouds gray? I'll literally tell him why they're gray, as much as I know. And I expect that eventually he's going to pick up stuff and he's going to know a lot more. And it will simmer in his brain. And one day, maybe in 2 years' time, he'll explain to someone else why the clouds are grey or something.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And it is easier when you've had two. Like on your second child, you suddenly see the first one as older, and you give him more responsibility, and he loves it, bro. And he loves being independent. He wants to be independent, and everything he does, he wants to do it on his own. He doesn't want help, even if he's getting like a glass or something from the cupboard. He wants to do it on his own. If he wants something from the fridge, and we let him, instead of us getting up and getting it for him, he's like, no, I want to do it on my own. He'll bring a chair. He'll climb up. He wants everything to be done on his own. He wants that independence.
And you should embrace that, because otherwise what you're going to end up with is like, a baby, you know. And but a lot of parents don't want to do it because this is very like deep, and it's, I guess, messed up and sad, but their ultimate fear is their children becoming independent. You know, and that they won't need them, and that the parents' significance in the world comes from the fact that the children need them. And that should not be where we base our significance from. You know, it should be like, look, I am a vessel through which, inshallah, this child is going to become, a pious, good person that will be from Ahl Jannah, and literally like let Allah use me to kind of raise him. And it's like, he doesn't belong to me, he belongs 100%. To Allah. And, of course, naturally we find some level of satisfaction and significance in having children, but it can't be the fundamental thing. Otherwise, you're going to do, and this is we talked about it before, right? This whole Peter Pan syndrome or Wendy syndrome or whatever, where it's like the mother doesn't want that child to become, especially the son, doesn't want her son to become independent because he may leave her. And her significance in life comes from the fact that she's got a child that needs her, you know?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. I like, it strikes me actually, because I was at work today, and my wife took both my boys out, on her own and stuff, but she narrated to me a bit of an incident that happened, nothing major, but kind of in line with what you said. So the little one, they were in a park that's got a lot of people, and it's in the middle of town. So it's in the middle of the city. So if you run out, you're going to go into the city. And my little one was running out, sort of, it's still pedestrianized, not like cars or anything, but he starts running towards the exit, and usually she would be running after him, but then Suleiman got up and started chasing him, and she stopped, and she thought, let's see what happens. She wanted to see, is Suleiman going to go and run with him, play with him, or is he going to be responsible and bring him back, even though that's not necessarily his responsibility. He's never been told to do that. And he got up, and apparently he ran up there, he grabbed Ilyas by the hand, he pulls him back. He's like, Ilyas, don't do that again, it's too dangerous, come back, mummy's over there, we can't go away from mummy. And he brought him back. And I was like, yeah, that's it, that's what we're talking about. Like, he's a big brother, so he's feeling pride in that role as a big brother, and he's fulfilling that there. So it's part of that journey, isn't it? I can't wait till he does the shopping for me, bro. I can't wait. Just go
absolutely, and pay the energy bill. Absolutely. Okay, let's end it there, inshallah. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Go over to mindhousepodcast.com for any links that you may be looking for. Assalamu alaikum. Check out that motorbike.
Yeah.